This is Ann Engar. It's August 28th, 2008.
This is Kathryn K. Meier, 1960 East Jeremy Drive. And is that enough? Or?
That's great.
Oh.
So how long have you lived in the city of Holladay?
I've lived here since 1928 because my folks had a home right next door, and that's a picture of the home next door. It was there. It was torn down now.
Uh-huh.
That's the picture.
That's a beautiful picture.
My dad was a building contractor, and he built it. We moved in that home in 1928. I was born in 1924.
So you were 4 years old.
Uh-huh.
What were your parents' names?
Newell John Cora and Ruth Jeremy Cora.
And does Jeremy Drive come from her name?
Yes, my grandfather owned 20 acres here. Farmed it since 1907. He was a farmer.
Oh
My mother's father. And so my dad built the home up in the corner of the property.
And what kinds of things did your grandfather grow?
Well, he had a few dairy cows, but it was during the Depression, and they got a few cents for a gallon of milk, the farmers. And he worked very hard. He grew everything, hay for the cows, corn, and then of course they all had a garden. So they grew about everything, and he had apples, orchards, and peaches, pears, everything. So that's why it wasn't hard for us in the Depression, because we had plenty of food. Everything was right here in this area to eat, because our home was the only thing on the property up here. My grandfather had a home down on the corner, but my grandmother died early in life, and so he lived with us up in our home.
And how many children were there in your family?
5. I had an older brother, then me, and then a younger sister, and then 2 younger brothers.
And did you attend school in this area?
Oakwood School, when it was only four rooms, one on top of the other, The first and second grade were together, and then the third grade and the fourth was on the top of the first and second grades, and the fifth and sixth were on top of the third grader. Of course, there were just a few students in each class. I guess we didn't have more than about 10 in each class, 10 or 12.
That would be a lot of individual attention. That's good.
Yes, we did. We all learned to read by the old phonics system, which was very good. And it was, of course, we were really out here in the country in those days. See, it was really the country, because most of the men out here were farmers. And so most of them had big lots, big home, a home on a big lot.
What do you miss most about the way that Holladay used to be, this area used to be?
I guess when I think about my childhood, it was a wonderful childhood. And of course, I loved to help my grandpa on the farm. I was a real tomboy. I used to drive the old work horses for him. He didn't have any tractors, so everything was pulled by work horses. I used to ride the old work horse while he cultivated, and I really helped him a lot. Of course, I enjoyed that. I liked it. I guess, I don't know what I guess it's maybe because it's so crowded now. I like to have room. We're on a lot here for 7/10 of an acre, so we have a lot of room. And that's what I think. There's so many homes so close together, not so much here, but other places.
Who were some of the people that stand out in your mind from Holladay?
Well, now, this part of the area
It was
we call Cottonwood.
Right.
So it'll be mostly Cottonwood.
That's good.
Here because,
That's okay.
well, always our bishop, because my family was all active in the ward. Our bishop and stake presidents.
Are there any particular ones that stand out in your mind?
Yes, Frank Armstrong was a bishop. Lennox Murdoch was a bishop. Collie Stainer was a bishop. They all do. We were really like one big family. My dad was always in the bishopric from about 1928 when he first built the home to in the 40s someplace way. So we were all had a lot of activity. And we had a lot of big dinners and parties all the time. Of course, we had they were building buildings when you had to raise the money in your ward. And so I thought it was fun, though, to have all these parties. I thought that was wonderful.
What are some of the buildings that you were part of the financing and building of?
Well, they did building on the old ward. It's now the First Ward, Cottonwood First Ward, on Island Drive down here.
Mm-hmm.
There were steps going up. I don't know if you've seen pictures of that old building.
No, I haven't.
Really, you went up all the steps. They had towers where we had classrooms, and they did remodeling at times. They built the big gym that's still there. They built that on. And it seems like there was always something going on that we had to have board dinners for.
What did you look like when you were a child? How did you dress? How did you do your hair?
Of course, we all had to wear dresses in school in those days. And I looked like a tomboy. Oh, I was trying to find some of my pictures, and I don't have the strength to do that anymore, to go through a lot of my stuff, and because I haven't been well for these past few months. But I don't know, a lot of the girls had bangs, the straight bangs, and down like this. And
Kind of a little Dutch cut?
yeah, and my grandpa, who was a farmer, was a barber before in Salt Lake, before he came out to have the farm. And he always cut our hair like this.
Who were your best friends?
Well, I had several of them. Fern Hansen and Donna Jean Smith, Mary Faulkner. Mary Faulkner was a teacher at Oakwood for several years.
Hmm.
And, I can't even think of any more. But I think we all were good friends as we were growing up in the elementary school anyway.
What kind of games did you like to play?
Oh, marbles was a big thing, even for the girls. One girl, Helen Jean Covey, had a big bed full of marbles. She was the best marble player in the whole school. But she carried this big bag of marbles around. I don't think she ever lost any. She was such a good player. She came over to my house one day, and it was time for dinner, and I said, I've got to go in for dinner. No, you got to play several more marble games with me. I said, I can't, Ellen Jean, my mother's calling. She made me play 8.
Oh my.
Marble game. Took all my marbles. Oh, but she was a good player, boy. She really did know the marbles.
How would you describe a perfect day when you were young?
Well, in the summertime, my dad loved to go swimming. We used to go to Saratoga when it was, like Lagoon, only much smaller, And out at Black Rock, at Great Salt Lake, he loved to go out there, so we did a lot of that until my 2 other brothers were quite a bit younger than the 3 of us, so when they came along, of course we couldn't do as much because they were little, and so, but that, I used to just love to go swimming down at Saratoga. That was a perfect day for me. Mother would always fix a big lunch, and that was fun. I love that.
What kinds of things would you have for lunch?
Oh, she'd do fried chicken and potato salad, fruits of all kind, and it was just wonderful. My mother was a wonderful cook, too.
Where did you shop?
Well, when I was quite young, let's see, Aaron Howard had a grocery store on Highland Drive and 48 South, and that's where we mostly did our shopping, our food that we didn't have, that we didn't grow and have ourselves. That one, and then Mother liked to take us to town, Salt Lake, for other things, and so mostly, I guess those are the 2 places we would end up.
What kind of transportation did you use?
My dad always had a car, and Mother had one too most of the time, so we had 2 cars.
Well, that was independence in those days.
Yeah.
Usually people just had one if they had one.
We did, but yeah, he had one for Mother too. She liked to drive, go to town every once in a while too.
And after Oakwood, where did you go to school?
Well, to what's called Olympus Junior High. It was called Irving in those days when I went to it. They're on where the Olympus Junior is now, Of course, it was a much smaller school. And then I graduated from Granite High School.
You went to Granite High School. Did you take part in any activities in high school?
Yes, I was in the Senate one year, and then my senior year I was the student body vice president.
Great.
And I was planning to go to college, but I got a job working for a doctor and stayed there till I got married.
So you said that the Depression was not too hard on you.
No.
In terms of food.
Well, my dad was a building contractor. He went all over the state building buildings, and so we didn't have a hard time of it, no, because I used to go with Mother to some of the neighbors who were hard up and didn't have a job. She would bake bread and make soup, and take them around to the neighbors. So a lot of people here in Cottonwood had a hard time of it, but we never did suffer. We always had plenty. Oh, we weren't wealthy, I don't mean that, but we had plenty.
Mm-hmm. So you were a teenager when World War II broke out then?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when you heard about Pearl Harbor? And
I was, well, it was on a Sunday morning.
right.
And of course we went to church. In those days, you know, we had church in the morning and then at night with sacrament meeting at night. And of course everybody talked about it there at the ward, and yes, I heard about it. It was sad. I know we were all upset because we were afraid our fathers were going to have to go to, you know, join the military.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if they had so many dependents, you didn't have to.
And what was it like in the Cottonwood area during World War II?
Well, of course, I think a lot of people went to the arms plant to work, you know, a lot of them who didn't have jobs and who weren't in the service, they could work at the arms plant, and it was really helpful to them because if they had been without work, they got a pretty good job in those days. I don't know what they paid, but I know some of my friends went there.
And did you have rationing?
Oh, yes. Yes, rationing. You bet, that was. And of course I was dating all the time, and you know, we wore nylons. Boy, you couldn't get nylons. They were really hard to get. I missed that most, I guess. And of course gas was rationed, everything was rationed, you know. So it was hard on some people, a lot of people. But had to have it done.
So you were working for a doctor, and when did you meet your husband?
Their family moved into the ward here, and I met him in church. And they were from Cincinnati. His folks were the first LDS in their family. They joined the church before my husband was born. So, and they had 6 children. Let's see. I don't want to tell you much about that.
So you met him at church, and tell me about your courtship.
Well, I ended most of my time stocking grocery shelves because they opened Meier's Market in Holladay.
And where was it located?
Do you know where Meier's Chicken is?
Up on Holladay Boulevard, and about, what, is that 49th, 50th South?
Uh-huh. That was their first main grocery store that they opened up here.
So you got a job there?
No, I didn't work for them. That's where I spent my courtship. If we had a date, that's what we did. We stocked grocery shelves. No, we dated, but he had just come out of the service in the fall of 46. He had been in the service for 2 years in the Navy.
Where did he serve?
He was in the Aleutians part of the time. He was on a sub-chaser, and he didn't actually see a lot of action, but because the war ended then soon after that. 45, didn't it end? Yes, 45. And then we were married in 49, And he had to go back into the service. He was a radio man in the Navy during the Korean conflict for a year. And our first child, Rob, Melissa's father, was born. And so I was alone here in this house with him while he served. But my mother and dad lived down around the corner. They built a home down around the corner, sold that one, and built a smaller home after we were all married.
So he was in Korea then for a year?
Yeah, he was most of the time in the water, though, you know, on the ship.
Right.
Subchaser.
What were some of the very best times of your marriage?
I guess when each child was born. We have 5 children.
And tell me their names.
Robert, Jeremy, Marshall, Kevin, Ruth Ann. She's the only girl. I used to tell everybody, though, they were all born during the 50s. I spent all the 50s barefoot and pregnant.
And where were they born?
The first 2 were born in LDS Hospital, and then the next 3 were born at the old Cottonwood Maternity Home. But it had been remodeled, and it was really quite a nice place. So my doctor did the 3 others there.
So you were a busy mother with 5 little kids, very close together in age.
And then I also had 2 miscarriages in there between.
Oh my.
One was really a hard one, though. It was harder than birth, really, because I spent so much time in bed. So, but they were all worth it. They were all wonderful children.
So they grew up in this house then, and they did the same thing as you. They went to Oakwood and went off to Irving Junior High. Well, it became Olympus Junior High at that point. And then they went to Olympus High School.
Well, they built, they built Olympus High. And then Cottonwood High, the last 3 went to Cottonwood. Because that was built before they, that's right.
So tell me about the building of the business.
You mean the grocery business? Yes. Rob's families were always in the grocery business back in Cincinnati. And my father-in-law must have been unhappy or something because he'd only keep a grocery store for about a couple of years, and then he'd get tired of it and sell it and practically give it away, and then go and start another business. I guess he got tired of it, you know, because that's hard work.
Oh yeah.
Very hard work, and he and my mother-in-law were wonderful people, though. They were very hard workers. And so when they decided to come to Salt Lake, and that's the first thing they did, was to get into the business. The one that I was telling you about, though, where Meier's Chicken is, that building, they didn't get into that one for 2 or 3 years. They were here for 2 or 3 years before they got into that one. But it was hard business, because you don't make enough in the grocery business. You really have to have a big business to be prosperous. But they worked awfully hard and made a good business out of it. My father-in-law was a wonderful butcher, and he spent a lot of time cutting all the fat off everything for everybody. And So he made a name for himself as a wonderful butcher. It was hard work.
So as your husband came home from Korea, did he go back and work in the store, or what did
Yes.
he decide to do?
Yes, he came back to the store. And in between there, though, one time Father decided he needed to get out of it again, so he sold it once. And then Rob went to work for a couple of the other, like Albertsons and some of the others. But they weren't happy not having their own business, so they went back in and bought it again. And then they ended up, Bill Howard, whose property was the store on, decided to build another store down the street, and that's where our son Rob is now. He does meats and catering, and well, in fact, all three of our sons are in the food business. Marsh is in with the store over here, you know.
Uh-huh.
He has the meat and deli
Uh-huh.
business like that. And Jeremy has the Meier's chicken, our second son. Our fourth son, well, they all graduated from the Y, all four of them did. But he decided he wanted to go into finances. So he got a job with Shell Development, Shell Oil. And he's been in Houston for a number of years with that company.
And how about your daughter? Is she close by, or is she off also?
She lives over in Sandy off 7th East and 81 South.
Do you have any favorite stories about your husband?
Well, he has told stories how one time this was during the war, that there was a terrible storm in the Pacific, and they were really having a bad time. They were afraid they were going to be swept away. And but he was the only LDS on the sub chaser, and everybody came to him and told him he needed to pray for everybody. And so, of course, he told they finally made it all right. I mean, that's just it in a short version.
But it sounds like he set a good example for them.
Yes.
And they trusted him.
Yes.
How about any favorite stories about your children?
Oh, we got a number of them. Oh, well, I'll tell you one about our second son. This was during the 50s. He was, just about 2 years old, and he had a real bad sore throat. You know, the doctors used to make house calls. And Dr. Daughters was our doctor, and he came to the house, and he could see how bad his throat was. And he said, well, he had to give him a shot of penicillin. So we had a piano sitting right here and a piano bench, and he said, now you have to put him over your knees and hold him so I can give him the shot. And, oh, it was terrible. He screamed and hollered, and he gave him the shot, and he said, I don't understand it. My throat's sore, not my bummy. He couldn't understand why he had to have the shot put in his That's one, but we had a lot of different ones. We were doing family night before the church started it and I kept notes, I kept minutes. And so our kids were, of course, 4 boys in a row was a handful to begin with, but they were all very active and they loved to be outside. In fact, if I punished them, the best punishment I could give them was to keep them in the house, because they just had a fit if they couldn't be outside and play. But one night we were having, my husband was bishop for about 11 years between the 9th and the 11th ward.
My goodness.
And because they divided the 9th ward and made the 11th ward. So he was bishop of the 9th ward, so they put him in the bishop of the 11th ward. And so anyway, we were having family night, and some of their friends were out going up and down the street waiting for him to finish with the family night because they were having a fit to get outside. And we were always having that problem. It seemed like nobody else had family night on Sunday night. But with him being the bishop, we had to have it that way. We had a lot of stories like that, but that would take too long to go into all those.
No, they're good stories, though. I'm enjoying it. So, were you involved in other organizations, or did you do any kind of work as the children were growing up? Were in PTA or anything like
yes,
that?
I was active in the PTA at Oakwood all the time. Because we had children there for a number of years. And I wasn't active during their junior high, though. Because it seems like I always had a little one around. But I was active in the PTA with the children. And with him being bishop, I got to be den mother all the time, too. I was den mother for about 6 years.
So heavily in Scouts.
Yeah. We had a lot of Scouts. They were all 4 of our boys were Eagle Scouts.
Did you like to go on vacations with your family?
Oh, yes.
Where would you go?
Every year they wanted to go to Yellowstone because they loved the animals. They would take little books along and keep notes of how many bears they saw or how many deer, or how many elk, all that. Every year it seems like we ended up going to Yellowstone.
So did you camp out in tents? Did you stay in lodges? What did you do?
Well, we had a trailer for a number of years. We took it. That was helpful to have that. But we did have a lot of fun going to Yellowstone. Of course, as we got older and they went on their missions and everything, and we went on, like, just a husband and wife with other family. Husband and wife, we went on trips. He's had 3 open heart surgeries, but he's still here.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. What would you say are some of the most important lessons you've learned in life?
How do you have to give and take. In a marriage, you can't expect it to be all one-sided. It wouldn't work. But you've got to do things and always realize how important it is to love one another and your family. Trying to think what else. family is most important.
And what are you proudest of in your life?
What am I proud of?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm proud of a good husband. He is, since I've been sick, he's had to do everything. He's had to do all the meals. He's had to do the laundry, the housework. He does everything.
That's wonderful.
I couldn't have had a more wonderful husband. He's just been great. Our family, our children have helped too, but.
And how many grandchildren do you have?
We have 24 grandchildren.
Oh, that's wonderful.
14 grandsons all served missions. The last one, they're all there on that table. Pictures of the grandsons. And the 14th one is being called to Nampa, Florida, for Spanish speaking.
Oh my.
So he'll be our 14th, and they've all gone.
Well, I can tell you're a proud grandma for that.
We've got about 20 greats. So we're still having those.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a delight to talk to you and to hear your story. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
Well, my husband was state prison for about 6 years. I didn't tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was made a mission president for the Arcadia, California mission.
Oh.
And so we were there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And where we had between 500 and 600 missionaries pass through.
Now, when was this?
Arcadia, California.
No, I know where. When was it?
Oh, in 84 to 87.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And that was a wonderful experience too. Where we
Do you still keep in touch with some of those missionaries?
Some of them do, yes. Some of them send Christmas cards and pictures of their families, and yes, it's a wonderful experience.
Well, that's great. I wouldn't have known to ask, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Anything else we should know about?
Well, I guess we've covered most of it. I can't think what else needs to be said. Only that I love cottonwood. My husband says my feet are cemented here in this soil. Because I was raised in next door, and we've lived here all this time. The only time we weren't here was when we were on the mission. So one of our sons, Marsh, and his family lived here while we were gone. So we've been in the same home all these years. It'll be in '09, it'll be 60 years that we've been married.
Oh, congratulations.
That's a long time.
It's a real achievement.
Yeah. Of course, I love cottonwood.